No, 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 no. Let me set the record straight. Japanese is not easy. It is a lot of work. But if you learn some patterns and you learn some tricks, it can be made easier.
This fucking
Oops. I meant to go full screen right there, and I just went little circle up there. But hey, that's what happens when you don't stream in about a week and a half. Anyway, welcome. Welcome. I'm back. I'm back a better man. Had an amazing trip. Right as I was kind of getting on the airplane, my friend Sarah said to me, I hope it's better than your highest expectations. And I said something back like, I don't have any expectations, but they're high. I did say that. That makes no sense. I didn't really have expectations going in. I just wanted to meet my mother. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I was just in Georgia meeting my mother for the first time in 42 years. And also a brother that I have, half brother, same mother. Brother from the same mother, I think is how you would call that. And I really didn't know much about them, to be fair. My brother is in a band. He plays guitar. I knew that. I had talked to him a few times. And my mother, I knew pretty much what I had heard about from my father, which was that she broke his heart and that he loved her. And how the breakup went place, and how there was a man that abused me after, I don't remember this, but apparently the man that she was dating, the boyfriend that she got that broke up the marriage, was abusing me, but I don't remember. Not essay, but physical. Just like punching me and giving me black eyes and stuff like that. He didn't like me. Understandable. I'm very punchable. But at that age, I probably didn't deserve to get punched. I don't know. That's kind of what I knew, that there was that man, and that my father got custody of me, and, you know, she didn't come to the courthouse to even get me. She got lost. I was aware that she had gotten lost. But I had been talking to her, you know, over letters and a couple phone calls, and she admitted all of this, that she was, you know, she messed up. She said it was great that I went with my father, better that I went with my father, because I have a decent life, whereas if I stayed with her, it might not have been so good. But, you know, I went in knowing all of that. And, you know, I was just wanted to know who my mother was. So I went in not even, you know, with any expectations. It was just, I want to meet my mother and see if I can form a bond. I think forming a bond between a son and a mother takes a lot of time. And I definitely have more of a bond with her than I did before, but I don't think it's necessarily a strong bond. If I didn't meet her again for another 42 years, I'd probably be okay. I wouldn't be too weirded out about that. I think, though, I hope she never sees this video, because it seems like a very harsh thing to say. It's just what it is. Like, it's just, I've never been able to put a mother in my mind. I don't have a mother. She wasn't there. The mothers that I had growing up were my dad's second, third, fourth, and fifth wife. And I don't remember the second one too much, except for the horrible way she treated me when the divorce happened. I don't remember that much about her. She was a nurse or something like that. That's all I remember. And she was the last white woman that my father would marry. And then the next two were Filipina, and they were both 5 years older than me. No matter when he married them, they were both just 5 years older than me. So it was kind of a weird. Oh man, I didn't mean to manipulate you with this music, but yeah, and it's weird because at 13, I was calling an 18-year-old mother. And that must have been weird for her. I was too unaware as a child to know that that was a weird thing. As a child, I just didn't know. And then the second wife, because that one ended in divorce, not the second wife, the second Filipino, I should say. I got to keep track of them. The third wife was Filipina. That ended in divorce, and I believe 2 twin babies that were not my father's. And upon finding out that she was pregnant, my father said, well, I don't know how that's possible because I've had a vasectomy. And she said, it's a miracle. But it turns out, I don't think God puts half black children inside from a white man when it's a miracle. I think he just at least makes it look like the father. So she definitely was cheating on him. It was apparent. But he knew before the kids came out. But once they came out, it was like, oh, definitely not a miracle. I mean, I was aware because I had been told by my friends that they had seen my quote unquote mother hanging around with other men on base at the NCO club. So I already knew my father was in denial, but I think that kind of set him in the right direction. And the fourth one, who I rather liked, she was 21 and I was, actually maybe she was 20. I don't remember. She was just 5 years older than me. So let me do the math on that. I think, I don't remember. I've always said 18 and she was 23, but I don't remember now, to be fair. I just don't remember. He just likes him young. Now, his final wife, the fourth one, I don't know what happened to her. They moved back to the United States. I think she saw a different world. She met a younger man. I mean, a younger than my father man, and just went with him. And I think that's what happened. Sad all around for my father, just constantly getting divorced. Then he met his final wife, who was the first one I never called mother, but the one that deserved to be called mother. After we got past some misunderstandings for a few years where she thought we didn't like her. She turned out to be a fantastic woman, very, very smart, ruthless in business, but also compassionate, just good person all around, and worthy of my father. And not just a woman that needed help, but a woman that could also help my father. And she was fantastic until she passed away last year from breast cancer. It was very, very sad. Probably the saddest I've been, because it's just, I'm sad for my father and myself, in that moment. But she was 3 years older than me. So she was the youngest in terms of split of age. Now, me and my father are only 20 years apart. So that means that she was 17 years younger than him. Now, my real mother, my birth mother, they got married when she was 15. And he was, I believe, 19 or 20. And I think they were 4.5 years apart. And here's something I learned on the trip that was unexpected. I wasn't even curious about it. I didn't even think about it. But I was born prematurely. So we were talking about the period of time where I was born, because my theory was that she got pregnant at 15 and then had me at 16. But she says, no, I was 16 when I got pregnant with you. We were trying to have you. That was interesting to me, because I just automatically, I wasn't worried about it, didn't concern me. I just automatically assumed I must have been, oops, you're pregnant, now we got to get married. But no, it was, they got married and then they kept trying to have a baby, and finally she got pregnant, and that was me. That was an unexpected, interesting thing to know. So it must have hurt her quite hard when she lost custody of me completely. Yeah, it turns out she got lost and didn't know how to get to the courtroom. And then the only time I saw her cry the entire trip was during that first night when we were talking about that era, and the man that had hit me, her boyfriend, who to me looked very much like Jeffrey Dahmer when I saw his picture. Actually, nobody looks like now, and I can't get that face out of my head, but I've never had any bad nightmares about him. So I really think that it is not in my brain, the fact that he hit me. But the only time she cried was when she said, I broke up with him and I thought for sure I was going to get you back. And then she started crying right there because she couldn't get me back. What she thought she could do to get me back, she couldn't get me back. And what's so weird is that maybe the next 2 or 3 days later, I saw one of those court shows where they had a woman just like that, who's like, but I broke up with my boyfriend. You know, I was like, yeah, too late. You know, too late to do it now. You had irresponsible actions with your children already, you know? So, but a huge hole in my life has been closed. I now have access to my mother. I now can talk to my mother. I now know what she looks like. I know where she lives. I know the man that she lives with, and an excellent man, an angel as a human being. She was actually married to him for 10 years. I don't know why they broke up. I didn't get into that. But I imagine it's because my mother's a little bit selfish, just a little bit. And I don't think he wanted to break up. I think she wanted to roam the field, and her selfishness caused that breakup. That's just who she is, and I accept her for what she is. You know, she's 66 now, 67, coming up on 67, I believe, in about a month. But that's just who she is. Like, she's not perfect, but I don't think any parents are perfect. And maybe if I'd grown up with her, I wouldn't even think about it as much as I do just seeing it for the first time, where she's just a little bit on the narcissistic side, a little bit on the perfect side, not perfect side. What was the word I was using earlier? She's a party girl for sure. Always has been. Selfish. That's what it was. A little bit selfish. Aren't we all, though? And a little bit narcissistic. I definitely am, because I do live streams. There's no way that I'm not somehow narcissistic. I think you have to be to do these live streams, to think that people would care about what you're talking about. The genuine gold of the trip for me, well, the whole trip was gold, but this was an unexpected real joy, was bonding with my brother, who the last time I saw him, he was 3 or 4. And he's a grown man now. He's got his own house. Boy, he's working it, man. He's really a hard worker. But it hasn't gone perfect for him, and it's rough. But he's working with what he has, and I think it's amazing. And he's extremely talented. He's an extremely good talented guitarist. I went to his live show and I filmed the whole thing, and he's just really good. And here is the other part that I wasn't expecting. There's 2 or 3 things I didn't expect, but his children. Now, I went in to Georgia knowing that my mother and my brother weren't super well off. I already knew that. So I had my impression. And I'm going to, Georgia, to the country, the deep south of Georgia. I had my expectations going into there as well. And based on what I had already talked to my brother's name is Matt, I already knew where he was technologically. I know where my mother is technologically. So I was very surprised that his 3 sons were way more technically advanced than him. I was trying to explain to my brother about TikTok and, streaming, and how he could play guitar on TikTok and maybe build an audience outside of the local audience. And he didn't even have a phone. I mean, you have to start with not having a phone. So I gave him one of my old iPhones, and I said, okay, get a TikTok account. He's not dumb enough he can figure that out. He knows enough to do that. He just kind of avoided it. He didn't want to get hooked on it. So you can't imagine my surprise when I was in his youngest son's bedroom, and he's got this massive gaming PC, a mic set up, and OBS sitting on his desktop, which is the same streaming software I'm using right now. And he had a YouTube channel that he had already been streaming on like 5 years ago when he was 12. He doesn't stream anymore, but he did tons of streaming of gaming. It just never hit. He never got enough views to keep doing it. And his other 2 sons, which are twins, they're heavily involved like in the stock market. They work at a company that makes buggies, which is so typical in my mind. Like, oh, okay, you're in the deep south where there's all these trails and you make buggies. I mean, it tracks, right? But then they're telling me, oh, yeah, I was doing calls and puts, and like, what? I've never done a call and a put. I've been in the stock market now for years. I've never done a call and a put. And yeah, I know I was doing about $200-300 a week. And I was like, dude, that's fantastic. Teach your dad. Hey, what's up, Liana? I appreciate you following my story. Now, here's the cool thing that I wasn't expecting at all. I saw my DNA in my mother, and I saw my DNA in my brother and their sons. There's these weird things about them that just must be part of my that part of the family line. Shiny things. We like lights. We like different colored lights. My mother's house had the most beautiful Christmas lights I think I've ever seen someone do. Just super beautiful. Like I loved it. And she had a disco lighty thing going on. And I'm like, who does that? I don't know anyone that does that except for me, my daughters, and her. I know everyone on YouTube has, lights on their ceiling and they do a little bit of that. But she doesn't even watch YouTube. This woman does not have a phone, does not have any technology. She watches TV all day. That's what she does. When I tried to give her my iPhone originally, and I got to the part where she had to choose an Apple ID, it was too much for her, and she backed out of getting the phone. That's how bad she is with technology. I don't understand that stuff. She ain't understand it. You know what I'm saying? Georgian accent. And then now my brother, well, he's a musician, right? So he's surrounded by those lights. So maybe he doesn't put it in his house because of that. But his son sure did. They took me into their pride and joy. He has his truck, right? Takes me. I think it was one of the twins. I think Seth was one of the twins. He took me in. I hope it was Seth because it could have been Sebastian. Heck, it could have been Nathan. I don't remember which one it was anymore. I was just too excited. But he had taken the roof off of his car, like not the roof, but like the inside panel, and he poked holes all over it. He's got a Toyota Tacoma, and he'd put lighting inside those holes. What do they call those lights that go through the piping? I can't remember it right now. Hikari fiber. I don't know what it is in English. Fiber light. And it was beautiful, like stars in his car. And then he had typed out the word taco, which I didn't understand. I was like, why? What's taco? He said, oh, it's a Tacoma. Oh, that makes sense. But it was like, wow, that's really cool. That's some DNA where, like, I guess we like shiny things, or we evolved near sparkling water so we feel comfortable with the shine. I don't know. It was interesting to me. Another thing is my mother likes to collect boxes. I collect boxes as well, and bottles. I don't know if she was collecting bottles, but I bought some new shoes there, and she absolutely wanted the box. She says, I collect good boxes. I'm like, that's some DNA happening right there. And then one final thing. My brother, when he was doing his concert at this, this live show at this bar, like in the southernmost bar in Georgia, it was weird. Me being there is the weirdest thing, because if you had told me a year ago, in a year you're going to be in a bar in the deep south of Georgia, I don't think I would have believed you, except for the fact that my mother was there. But when he was doing his concert, there was something wrong with the sound. It didn't sound wrong to me. I'm not a musician, so I don't know. But he would play, and then he'd adjust, and he'd play, and then he'd adjust. And he was doing the exact sort of like aggressive must be perfectness thing that I do when I'm trying to get things right. I can't really move on until it's fixed, and that's what he was doing. And I thought that's interesting as well. Thought that was interesting. Oh, you love the background? Yeah, I spent a good 20 minutes getting this background. There's like an earth back there and everything. Yeah, I like it too. Thank you. Eswal says, it's cool getting to know a bit more about you. Good morning from Georgia. What? What part of Georgia are you in? So I was in Norman Park, which is near Moultrie. And what's that other place called? Tenzin? Tenzin? Oh, there's a place near that. I can't remember the name anymore. I wrote it in my little story that I'm writing about that place. I don't know. Now, I learned a lot about the country. I realized that the country isn't what I imagined it. It's just spread out more. That's really all. And they don't have the big buildings. That's about it. And they have bad internet. The internet's kind of bad in the rural areas. But beyond that, it was just like, oh, I might even be able to live in a place like this, I thought, if the internet was good. So that was a little bit surprising to me. And the people are smart. They're just, I don't know why I had this image that, you know, if you're from Georgia, you can't be intelligent. It wasn't that dark of a thought, but it was just like, I'm the big city man coming in but show you. No, they're smart. They're I guess it makes sense. The internet exists, right? So I realized I went in with my own prejudice when I went into when I went into Georgia, that I don't share anymore. I just don't share anymore. Now, are there Confederate flags there? Yes. One of the cousins had one on his, not the cousins, the twins had one on his car. And until he told me about it, I didn't even think about how deep it was to him. But it was deep to him, and he didn't care about the negative connotations. He was trying to explain to me why it's not negative. But he didn't go too dark. None of them were super into politics at all. Not even one of them had that discussion with me. And matter of fact, if Trump ever came up at all, my mother would walk out of the room. She didn't want to talk about it. She doesn't care about any of that drama, which was refreshing. It's also super refreshing that my mother is a liberal. So, Madison, Georgia, you grew up in Albany, 30 minutes from, that's so crazy, man. That's so crazy because my brother's concert was at a place called Lee's Bar, which was really close to, it's Leesburg. The concert was in Leesburg. Do you know where that is? That's on the way to Albany, so it's really close to where you are, I bet. It's called Lee's Pub. That's where it was. I think he might play there quite a bit. I'm not sure though. That's crazy. Yeah. It's, it felt nice. I'm not 100%, knowing even how to handle 8 new family members. It's my first time ever being on that side of the family. I didn't even know my mother had sisters and brothers. I didn't know that. I don't think I really understood that my brother had 3 sons as well. Did I say my son had 3 sons? Hopefully I said my brother had 3 sons. But my brother, I'd like to help. I'd like to find a way to get him. God, if he could even make $500 more a month, it'd be substantial for him. But the problem with helping someone get more money or a better idea how to do things in life is, and I think I said this the other day on a live stream, but success is at least a decade of good ideas. It's rarely this like all of a sudden you're successful. It's you late at night doing your thing to make your thing. That's the only way I know how to say it. It's you, all you, in moments of no motivation, in moments with no discipline. It's you somehow getting through 10 years of not wanting to do it and coming up to big decision points and making more good decisions than bad. Making the right decisions when no one's there to tell you what the right decision is, when you're filled with doubt. So you can't just come upon somebody even as talented as Matt is and say, this is what I did, you just do the same thing. Because what I did involved fear of the moment over and over again, and extreme letdowns, and extreme depression, and extreme happiness. All of that led to good decisions somehow. Enough good decisions. I've got my bad ones in there too. And it led to a buildup, because it's never a quick rush to, what do they say? An overnight success, it only took me 20 years. That's what I am. That's what I am. I am a success, but it took 20 years. I mean, the first video I made was like it was 2002. 2002 was the first video I made teaching Japanese, something Japanese. The first lessons I wrote were in 1998. And some of those lessons, some of the words I wrote in 1998 are in the books now. But it didn't stop. I'm still not done. I'm 25, 27 years in. I'm almost on my third decade of writing. And right now I guess I'm maybe 5-ish years into writing, actually writing outside of the textbooks. And 2-ish years ago, I actually committed hardcore to a novel. And now I've got like 3 or 4 novels that I'm working on. And do you think that if and / when my novel releases, if it goes well, it probably won't go well for the first novel, but maybe the third or the fourth will hit. That'll be a good 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe another decade of me making good decisions to write when I feel like I need to write, to rewrite when I need to rewrite, to let it stay where it should be because enough is enough, I need to release. Those type of decisions, right? There's a novel or 2 that I've abandoned midway through because I didn't see a clear path to a good end. To be fair, those were much earlier on novels. Once I read a book on how to write a novel, it got easier. My brain knew the rules and it started being able to write better. But that's decades. It's gonna be decades. And even owning these houses that I own were all. I owned one house for like 2 decades, but in my mind I was like, I really want another house. I really want another house. There's a good reason to own a second house because I could put my office there. That's easily. I thought about that for 6 years in the other office until I acted on it. But you can't give that to somebody. You can't, because there's a deficit of time. There's a deficit. And that sucks because I would like to give it to him, but I certainly can't dedicate a significant amount of time. If I did, it would definitely go faster, but then what do I lose? That's a bad decision on my part. He needs to do it all on his own. And part of making good decisions to do things are not doing things. Certain things you have to say no to. Saying no is the hardest thing. A friend needs help, you want to help him. I have one particular friend whose spouse spent 3 years meandering on a website for a friend where there was no money to be paid. And he was building his, I said he, now you know. It was a guy. Guys are dumb like this. But he just wasted 3 years. Now they're struggling because he made 3 years of bad decisions. Every day that he worked on that website, he made another bad decision because he should have finished his thing quicker and said no to his friend. That's what he should have done. If he wasn't going to say no, he needed to have a set amount of money that he was going to have to do because he can't work for free. Can't work for free, bro. Sorry. I can give advice for free, but I can't work for free. I just had to tell someone in Ask a Teacher questioning that you can't submit all these questions. He was submitting like 20 different translation requests for sentences he had made. Conical was overwhelmed. She said, hey, can you look at this? I'm like, yeah, let me look at this. I'll probably just like, whoa, no, my God. And if they were all correct, it would be one thing, but they were all mostly wrong. Like half of them were wrong. I was like, oh my God, each one of these is like, I could make a whole 30-minute video on what's wrong with these sentences. And I can't teach him that much. It's like when someone is so wrong, what can you do? And weirdly enough, that's how a lot of people's lives are. When I look, I'm not like the greatest man on earth. I'm not rich or anything like that, but I've done well. So from my position, when I'm looking at other people, I can see, oh, they're so beyond the explanation that they need here that I can't. It's like a more like, hey, why don't you start by cleaning up your desk? Like it goes to that level instead of, you need to put towards retirement or, it's nothing. They're just like their water heater doesn't work. You know what I'm saying? They don't have electricity or something like that. Like there's fundamental things they need before they even start thinking about that. It's like those people that start learning Japanese and they're like, I want to be an interpreter. How do I be an interpreter? Okay, step 1, learn Japanese. That's step 1. You can't just jump to interpreter, right? If that job even exists anymore. This AI is coming along real quick. Uliana, nobody knows who you are here, but I'll just tell everybody, Uliana's my friend. I never met her, but we chat. She used to be in the Russian ballet, which is so fascinating. And she lives in Spain now. She has a son. And she is always hustling. She'll make it. she has made many good decisions over the last few years, just of me knowing her. And she might not realize it. She might be bummed out some nights, but she keeps going. You know, I think she's on a path. She's always super positive. I don't know if she ever gets down, honestly. I got a novel inspired by her about a Russian ballet woman. It's all based on, I think she was working for the KGB. It's a strong theory. She's never denied it. But I have a whole concept for a novel. I wrote like 2-3 pages of it. I said to her, she wants it right now. She wants it right now. But it's like 4th or 5th in line for me finishing novels. I'm looking forward to do it, but it's the one thing I know the least about, you know, so I'd have to have a lot of talking to her about it, and I'm not prepared to do that yet. It's a lot of work. I can't just make up as much shit as I make up in the other novels, you know? You know where Lee Pub is? That's crazy. I was there like 3 nights ago. Isn't that crazy? And my brother was playing. Yeah. First day with my new mouth. Sorry about that. So yeah. That's kind of my topic tonight, was that I'm really glad I went. I don't know if I'll understand the full repercussions, good or bad, for this entire trip. We'll find out. It's 2024. Where can my brother be in 5 years? It's all on him. You know, where will you be in 5 years? Where will I be in 5 years? Will I have written my novels? Will they be done? God, I hope I've done it. I write, not every day. Sometimes I'll go many days in a row, and then I'll take a trip and I won't write. I mean, I wrote yesterday, but a whole different novel I was writing. I'm really proud of it too. See if I can pull it up. I actually want to read it, if you don't mind. It's only a few pages. It's one I started working on this channel a while back, and I went back and wrote some more. Right now, I've changed the name. It was called Oh Boy, or Is It a Girl? But I changed it right now to Coffee Boiling, but I'm going to rename it. I actually had another name idea. I don't know if this was the exact version. It's Coffee Doesn't Watch When Boiling. I don't know. That sounds like a cool name. All right, I'm going to read it. How many pages is this? All right, it's 9 pages. But it's a short form. Here we go. Okay, there's 14 people starting now. I'll know it's bad if people start dropping. Here we go. Her words hurt more than the ones... Oh, by the way, this is inspired by my own real life experience with my mother. I put a lot of that in there. Her words hurt more than the ones my father said in between blowing his nose and wiping tears from his eyes. Until then, I had never seen him cry. With a hoarse voice, he said, "Jimmy, your mother's leaving." I didn't understand and naively reassured him it would be probably less than an hour back and forth to Walmart. He stopped crying briefly, seemingly realizing 14-year-old me was too young, innocent, or dumb to know what leaving meant. His face was now soaked in tears, his fists clenched that I now know was not in anger, but in anguish. He pursed his lips into a tight, upside-down smile and swallowed hard. "Mom and I are splitting up, Jimmy. Divorcing. You know what that means, Jimmy." I knew what divorce was. Last year, 2 of the kids' parents in my class had divorced. I'm not sure what happened to the one that moved away, but the one that stayed with his dad was missing from school for nearly a month. When he came back, he wasn't the same. His clothes were dirty and hair unkempt. He went from sitting in front of the class, energetically raising his hand at any question asked by the teacher, to sitting in the back, hiding inside his hoodie, disinterestedly, leaning his head against his fist. Selfishly, I wondered what was going to happen to me. My dad sucked in air, the way you do when catching your breath in the middle of crying, and said, "I'm sorry, Jimmy. It's all my fault." Mom and Dad had been fighting ever since Halloween, but I don't know about what. The fights had got progressively louder, and each time I shut myself in my room and played random games on the old PS2 my dad had handed down to me. We weren't well off enough to have a PC in my room, or a PS4 like most of my friends had. I stared at my dad, beginning to grasp the weight of the moment. I wouldn't be going with my mom. Not because I didn't want to, but because I couldn't. I called her mom because she was the only mom I ever knew. But she wasn't my birth mother, a fact that my father only explained to me a few months prior on my 14th birthday. My father struggled to speak. She's leaving tonight. She won't be coming back. Even with everything that happened after that, the finality of his words in this moment pierced like a hornet's stinger. Now, 10 years later, the hornet has stung again. I looked at the text sent from Molly 5 minutes ago, spelled out without capitalization. You aren't going anywhere, and you seem to be content doing nothing in this middle of nowhere city. But I have dreams and I need someone on my level. I'm blocking you because my decision is final and it hurts too much to talk about it. I wish you well and thank you for the 2 years we spent together. Goodbye. I hadn't seen this coming, and frankly, I'm dumbfounded. Unlike my father and his ex-wife, Molly and I hadn't been fighting. Just last week, I listened to her talk about her goals and dreams as she pinned new things onto her dream board. She offered to buy me my own dream board, but I was too embarrassed to take her up on the offer. I told her I would get one soon. She smiled and gave me one of those smiles a mother gives her 5-year-old who says he's going to be president one day. It's true that I didn't talk about my dreams, but it wasn't as if I didn't have any. One day I would travel, and one day I would live in my own place. But now those dreams are fantasies, and they're on hold. The job at Norman Park's only coffee shop was only temporary, if you can call 3 years temporary. There weren't many options for work in this podunk Georgia town. Even if I had moved to Tallahassee just 90 minutes away, a subpar high school graduate like myself would probably still be grinding beans in a coffee shop. In-state tuition at Black Hills Public College was only $9,000 a year, but it might as well have been $1 million for me. My earnings at the coffee shop were keeping the house from foreclosure while my father fought his losing case against the trailer company that abruptly fired him after 30 loyal years. He was certain he would win, but the lawyer working on contingency told him it might take years to work its way through the courts. The only thing worth living for me had been Molly, but now she's gone. The birth mother I never knew, and the woman who played the role of my mother. A trio of women who each, on their own for their own reasons, no longer wanted to be a part of my life. And why would they? What redeeming qualities do I have? Is talking too much something girls get hot over? Or something a mother would be proud to tell her friends in church? Would anyone ever say the words, "I'm so proud of my son working at the Norman Park brew shop without a college degree and no foreseeable future"? The old cowbell hanging on the door handle clanked as a happy-looking couple bounced in, laughing as if everything in their life was perfect. I set my phone with its cracked face down on the counter, sucked in a breath as I wiped the tears that had been welling up in my eyes with the palm of my hands, and cheerfully greeted the couple. "Welcome in." The man was my age. He felt out of place in Norman Park. A gold Rolex that was probably more than I made in a year sparkled from underneath his two-tone leather jacket. The girl on his arm looked like last year's Miss Georgia. I tried not to stare at her cleavage, but I must have looked a bit longer than customary. The man took off his glasses and with an overly excited voice yelled at me, "Hey, oh my God, I can't believe it." I stepped back and apologized. "Sorry, Jimmy, right?" He said now with a smile bursting from his face. Yeah? I don't forget faces, but I don't think I know who this guy is. He seems genuinely happy to see me. I looked down to see I wasn't wearing my name tag, so he couldn't have read it. "It's me, Trevor, from, oh my God, 8th grade? This can't be Trevor. He was one of the chubby kids. Now he was some Adonis with slick back hair and a body that could have been used to model the Ken Barbie. 8th grade. Now with the proper context, I knew exactly who he was. From Miss Fulton's class? You had the blue Jansport with the red zippers? You left after your parents' divorce, I remember. Of course you remember. You remember everything, he smiled, revealing a perfect set of teeth. I did remember pretty much everything, but it wasn't a blessing. It was a curse. I remember the hurtful words of my father's ex-wife, my mom. I remember the words that she had said to me when she left. And I remember every word of Molly's final text. Holy moly, Jimmy. I'm sorry I didn't keep in contact. Things got pretty dark after my dad left. But hey, man, it's fate meeting you in the first place I entered coming back here. It's okay. Divorce hits hard when you're that age. My stomach began to rumble, like it always did when I got anxious. This is Liz, my fiance. I met her at Penn State. She wanted to see where I grew up before we tied the knot next month. Liz extended her hand for a handshake. Her nails were bedazzled with small diamonds and each painted with different brilliant shades of red. I had never been attracted to blondes, but Liz was the most perfect blonde I had ever seen. Not just in Norman Park, but even Tifton, which is about as far as I had been in about 10 years. She might as well have crawled out of a beauty pageant on TV. The only difference was TV didn't have an intoxicating perfume that seemed to blend perfectly with the permanent coffee smell of the shop. She was a welcome sight. I mostly saw regulars in their 40s and 60s and occasional truck drivers coming in for a cleaner bathroom and better coffee than the station next door. Liz extended her hand and I shook it. Her hand was soft, like Molly's was. I hope you have a lot of fun stories about Trevor. He tells me there's nothing to tell, but I'm sure he's hiding some dark secrets. She smiled, revealing another set of diamonds on her left cuspid. Her voice sounded like she was from the West Coast. I'm guessing California. I've never seen jewelry on teeth, but it suited her, matching her aesthetic perfectly. I do remember the time Trevor got revenge on one of the bullies on the bus. Liz's face lit up when I said this. Trevor and I were more like acquaintances than friends, but we rode the same bus from 4th grade until he abruptly left. Oh, please tell. Trevor smiled and shook his head in coy embarrassment. The cowbell clanked again. The group of 5 older women that regularly came in to drink coffee and gossip walked in laughing jovially. The woman in front yelled to me as she entered, Hey, Jimmy, give us the usual. The usual was 3 cafe lattes, 1 hot, 2 cold, a black coffee with 2 creams on the side, and 1 hot Earl Grey with a single pack of white sugar. What was the use of having an eidetic memory if I was wasting it on old ladies' coffee's orders? Sorry, Trevor, I've got to get to these orders or the women get feisty, but let me get your order first. Trevor nodded, then looked down at the menu and taped to the counter. His goddess of a fiancée, Liz, still had a look of anticipation on her face. She said, I want to hear that story, Jimmy, and of course others if you've got them. The bell on the door clanked again, and a couple I hadn't seen before walked in. I hoped it wasn't another successful classmate from 8th grade, reminding me of how much I hadn't progressed in my own life. I looked back to Liz and said, Sure, are you guys in town for long? Trevor, still looking at the menu, said, No, just one night, but let's hang out at Skyland and catch up after you're done working. I got bad news, Trevor. Skyland closed 3 years ago during the pandemic. No one was going to arcades much even before the pandemic, but the lockdowns, a couple months and months of people afraid to go anywhere was the nail in the coffin. Trevor's mouth opened and he jutted his head forward. No way! Skyland was my home away from home. How about we grab pizza at Metro's then? Don't tell me that's gone too. Metro was okay during the pandemic since they could deliver. Ah, yeah, that makes sense. And I'll take a medium mint tea cold. I should change the voices when I'm reading this here, but I don't have a good voice for them. Sorry. I realize it's probably confusing if I don't say he said, she said there. I rang up his order along with a cafe latte for Liz. We close at 8 if that isn't too late. Liz answered for Trevor. It's perfect. I hope you remember more stories than just that bus bully, okay? Before I could answer, Trevor did. Oh, he remembers, trust me. I bet he still remembers his combination on his locker combination. I did. It was 14 left, 36 right, 34 left. I'll see you at Metro's later then. I told them. Oh, that was, sorry. I'll see you at Metro's then. Later. I'll see you at Metro's later then. I told them both. The rest of my shift was much like the last 300 shifts, but in my head, something had changed. Seeing Trevor's transformation from chubby 8th grader to gold Rolex leather jacket man with a princess fiancée shone a bright light on my own life, and I didn't like the shadows it was casting. I began to feel shame mixed with anger. Trevor wasn't much different from me in 8th grade, but somehow he escaped to a better place. The last trucker left with a large black coffee just 2 minutes before the manager, who finally decided to show up from the back, flipped the switch to the off position on the neon open sign. In the parking lot, 2 spots away from my faded Ford F-150, sat a car type I had never seen before. I'm not a car guy, but no one beats me in the car make and model naming game. You could tell by the shape of the lights, the grill mesh style, and the transition between the front and back doors. There weren't many cars with dual round taillights like this one. Its dual exhaust calmly pushed out white steam into the cold air of the finally cooler nights of November. It was a Nissan GTR, according to the emblem. I wouldn't forget it. I could see Liz's blonde hair through the back window as I approached it. Trevor was banging his head to the bass sounds emitting from the entire car. He looked so happy. Moments later, we were heading north on the 319 toward the Metro Pizza. I had no idea how important the next decision I made would be. And now, 1 year later, I'm sitting at a table at a brew shop looking at a box from Japan with my name on it. I wasn't ready for what was inside. End of chapter 1. Hey, we still have 14 people. CG says, I like the detailed writing style. That is because I've been writing so much, I learned I needed to add more detail. This version of the book, as I read it, I felt like I didn't need to make many changes except for just a few words here and there. I feel like I've gotten the detail balance pretty good. The first version of my completed novel was absolutely bereft. Like, is that the right, bereft of any details like that. That's the second time I've read it through, though. I really like it. I like how I kind of have... There's something I'm doing in this novel that I've never done in any other novel, and it's... I jumped in this one little segment. I'm now 11 years in the future from where we started. We start with the divorce of his mother when he's 14. We move him to being 24. Now he's 25, right? So he's going to have to back up and explain why he's got a box with his name on it from Japan. And there's going to be back and forth, which is something I never do. I have not ever had a back and forth in a novel, but I feel like I can do it now. But you know, my one dream, my current dream right now that I think maybe I can make happen, is I want to be more well known for my novels than my Japanese textbooks. And that's the baseline dream, right? But the real dream is I get famous enough from the novels, like at least in the novel world, you know who I am. I have at least one novel that hits so well that people know, and I'm in a Trivial Pursuit card and it says, what was George Trombley's first novel or first book? And everyone answers the first novel that I have, right? But the answer is Japanese from Zero, book 1. People go, what? And then the subnote is like, and he's fluent in Japanese. Like, what? That guy's fluent in Japanese? I didn't know that. I didn't even know. He wrote textbooks? That would be cool, because that's what I'm known for right now. Vids of your mom. I'm watching the beginning of the stream. Glad you got some clarity and you can help with your further healing. Making good for the bad of others is commendable of any human. To be fair, you know, on the healing side, I had already healed. My wife healed me beyond anything. My wife has been just such a stone, like rock for me in my life. And she gave me a mother. I know it's weird to say, but she has been more motherly to me than I can even imagine. I think she's the best mother I've ever seen. Like, just the perfect balance of mother. I just have some, you know, there's a few good/bad memories that stick in my heart that just, no amount of meeting my mother would fix that. Those will always be there. But hey, everybody has tragedy. Everybody has. And my tragedy is nothing compared to other, like, my mother is alive. My father is alive. I'm not dying of something that I know of, right? So I haven't had that kind of tragedy that a lot of people have. So yeah. I was going to say something, but I just don't know how to exactly state it. But I just said a statement that there are other people that have more tragedy than me. But I'm going to say this as if it weren't talking about myself. But, you know, sometimes you have a huge tragedy in your life, right? And it's huge. And then another person will tell you about their tragedy and it's not as huge as yours. But you have to understand that is tragic for them, right? They haven't had the extended pain that maybe you have had in your tragedy. So you still have to understand that you might be at pain level 100, but so are they. But it's just they haven't, that 100 keeps getting pushed, right? Pain level 100 can be like what's pain level 100 today that I understand is pain level 100 might be pain level 50 later on when I have more pain after, the other things. For a long time, I didn't have anyone in my life that had died. So I didn't understand that pain. So maybe at that time, a breakup was my 100 pain. But then, once someone dies that is close to, I think that breakup pain becomes like a 30 or a 40 max. So you have to respect that every human being is in a different place in their life. And it's like, dude, man up. That's nothing, dude. I had this happen to me. It's like the worst thing you can say to a friend who is struggling with something. I think I'm guilty of that. That's why I'm kind of saying it. Am I going to publish them also in Japanese? Yeah, absolutely. 100%. If I was going to do any language, it would be Japanese. It wouldn't be me that translates it, though. I'd have someone professional translate it, and then I would just double check it. I would just spot check it. I'd have to assume they did a decent job. It's great to write that pain out, though. Don't minimize what you went through. Yeah. Now, I don't have the narcissism to think that my life story is interesting. I don't have that. So even though I am writing a little bit about my life, I'm putting it more into the fiction stories as just like fodder for that, right? But on the plane ride back, I did write the beginning of what would be just I was just trying to like put it all down on paper, but I don't think I'd ever release it because I don't believe anyone cares about my life. Now, if I become, think about it. Even Stephen King doesn't have a full autobiography. He has a kind of autobiography, but it's a book that's teaching writing. It's fantastic. It's called On Writing. And Stephen King's a guy you'd want to read about, but he doesn't have that narcissism to put his own book out just about himself. That's my understanding. And neither do I. I don't have that at all. I don't want that. Because I think it's actually, I'm too used to it. It's more interesting as part of fiction. Yeah. Pain is subjective. Exactly, Bronzy Man. Exactly. I think what I meant, Vids of Your Mom says, I think what I meant was, is you learn and grow from your experiences, but said a bunch of blah, 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 BS, LOL. What? I don't know what you meant, but I get what you meant, but I don't know what you meant. Yeah, but all I want to do is write. That's all I want to do, man. I just love writing so much. I love creating that world. A lot of times if I'm sitting in those rare moments where I'm not on TikTok or like Pokemoning or something like that, and I'm just thinking to myself, I'll put myself in those stories. I love thinking about those characters and what can I change in the story to improve it, Brandsy Man says, honestly, I picked up your JFC book 1 in 2018 and took my first trip to Japan. I was in a super dark place at that time, and it relit my passion for life. Brandsy Man, I love hearing that, man. I love hearing that. There's something magic to be said about accomplishment. I've always felt that depression, maybe it's not cured, obviously, right? Curing depression is a lot. But staving off depression is you're doing something towards a goal and you're focusing on that. I think that always brings me up when I'm focusing on a goal. I can't tell you how happy I was writing that first novel. It was 2022. I finished it. I think it was 2022. No. Yeah. Wait. Yeah. I think. I'm trying to think. But it was like July, August, September. I hardcore wrote that novel, right? And then I put it away for a bit because that was the recommendation. And then I didn't come back to it. But I was so happy. So happy writing that novel. That's why I don't even care if I put it out and no one buys it. I'll just be happy to have it sitting right here. Like, you know, as happy as I am seeing these books sitting right here, but even more happy because it has nothing to do with Japanese skill. It's, I learned how to write and I wrote something and I completed it. Now, the ultimate would be people like the book. I don't know. We'll find out. But I'm happy that your passion was relit. I really, really am happy to hear that I'm part of your journey, man. I don't know who you are, but yeah. I mean, the same thing happened to me with Korean. Like, Korean was an absolute relight in my life. It changed how I teach Japanese. It is a huge relight. Just getting that new thing that I could focus on, you know? Yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to say. And beyond that, I got to try to get back on my streaks. I've been faltering hard. I don't think I've had any streaks since the day before I left. So I got to get back on that, like running / walking. The one thing I've kept up though is I've been scanning books. I've got this scanner here, and I've got a heat gun that I melt the glue on it, and then I scrape the glue off, and then I kind of wedge the pages out, and then I slice them on my cutter, and then I scan them. I've got, I think, 63 books now scanned out of my hundreds of books. These are every one of these books is one that I scanned. It's Korean learning books, Japanese manga, German learning, Spanish learning, motivation, kanji. Yeah, some of these are good. I can't wait to actually read them now that they're on my... I got Zero kara hajimeru Doitsugo. Starting German from zero. Great name for a book. I've got Nihongo no Intonation, which is about pitch accent. Oh, you want to know something really cool? In this book right here called How to Sound Intelligent in Japanese, this book right here, oops, what page is that? Page 9. This was funny when I read it. I think I read it yesterday. So this is How to Sound Intelligent in Japanese. It's a vocabulary builder by Charles De Wolf, who's an associate professor at Keio University. I mean, he might be dead now because this was written in 1993. We're talking 20 years ago, but there's a section that he said something that I was not expecting. Let me see if I can find it. Oops, I went too far in the reading. Give me a second. I can't actually search because it's a scan. I didn't put any OCR on it. Oh, no, it's not I think I skipped past the introduction. Did I? Shoot, hang on. Where was this thing? You know what? I do remember what it was, but I wanted to kind of read that exact section. Hang on. Why is it already in philosophy and religion? Oh, here we go. I found it. Okay, scroll a couple ways back. You're going to be surprised. First of all, the book was written way more intelligent than I thought it was going to be. Like, the guy's super smart. Let's listen to this first sentence. Linguistic chauvinism, like other human failings, comes in many varieties. Voltaire's apocryphal court lady assumes that the pre-Babylonic language of mankind must have been French. Today, she might just as well stand for the stereotypical English speaker who believes that the entire world speaks, or ought to speak, his mother tongue. That's like super way above what I thought it was going to be. Anyway, he said one particular thing that I wasn't expected. Oh, here it is. Okay. He's talking about what they're going to cover in this book. Okay. He said, and this is part of that. And then I'm going to read this first sentence just to get to the second one. Hyphenization in the romanization is based on both morphological principles and the more practical consideration of appearance. The desire for absolute consistency thus yields to the requirement for readability. Except where minimal pairs are already in the text or come immediately to mind, pitch accent distinctions have been ignored. The author trusts that his intelligent readers are also astute listeners. He's basically saying, we're not going to talk about pitch accent in how to sound more intelligent in Japanese. I thought that was interesting. That's how I read it. What do you think? All right, this is a great question, CG. You mentioned that you want to write several novels. Will they be connected? Absolutely. I'll tell you how they're going to be connected. The very first novel I'm working on is called Life Squared. It's in 2040 San Diego. It's just the story of a physical trainer who has a lot of debt, and he takes on a kind of a dubious job that has offered to pay him 3 times his rate. His girlfriend warns him that he shouldn't take the job, that the company that he's going to is got a lot of dubious things that they've done, but he wants the money, he needs the money so he can pay off his debt and propose to his girlfriend. So he takes the job. So this is 2040 San Diego, and I've built out this entire world in San Diego. The next book that I am writing, which I think I already have 17,000 words for, so it's actually doing quite well. It's about 2 Japanese girls who are serial killers in America. Let's just start there. It's such a cool premise, and the characters that I've written so far, I absolutely love them. And I think it will be a better novel than the first one, even though I really love the first one. I just love what I'm doing in the second novel. But I put them in the same world. They're also in 2040, but they're in Portland. That's the difference. Whether that's a good decision or not, I don't know. I haven't figured that out. But I did put them in the same world. So I'm using similar tropes from the first book just because I liked what I had written so far. The third book, there is a book in between. It's interesting. So the first book is sci-fi, right? The second book is crime, future crime for some reason. And then the third book that I just read that first part of is purely just current world. We don't talk about what the world is. It's now, basically. It's now. It's modern, but it's human drama. So that one won't be connected. But there's 2 other novels that I started, but they were before I got a good understanding of how to write, so I might rewrite them. One is called 5555. It's a multi-dimensional. I hate it because I wrote it before Rick and Morty was a thing. And now multi-dimension came out, so I don't know if I'm gonna rewrite. I don't know what I'm gonna do with it, okay? But it's a boy and a creature that travel to different dimensions. But I was originally writing that with Sarah, and she was minimally helping in my mind. So I told her at one point I really wanted to write a novel myself. And I didn't want my first novel, which that's what it was at the time, to be written with someone else because I wanted to prove that I could write a novel. That was my goal. So I started writing another novel. It was called Serax. It's about now it's a space thing, right? It's a sci-fi in space. So I started writing that about ships that had left the Earth to escape. And she didn't want me to write it without her, so I abandoned it. Later on, she was like, you know what, you can write it. I realize what you want to do, so she said, you can have it. So I'm fine, thank you. I'll write it eventually. But as I was writing Serax, I realized I got to a certain point in that book, and I was like, oh, I'm writing the prequel to the 555 book. So I think like that's what I want to do. Even if they're not directly connected, I love, like there was an author, I think his name was Stephen Baxter, and he used to write the same characters but in different worlds and completely different lives. It was kind of cool. I love that. And I do like sequels. I have a sequel idea for the first novel, but I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. You'll learn pitch acts from listening. Thanks, Sipital. Or Mark, should I say. Yep. So that's where I am. Right now I've got real estate work that I'm doing. A long time friend of mine is buying some houses for investment, so I'm really trying to find him really good houses. Like this is my goal, as if it were me looking. I'm really working hard for that. And then my tenants just left one of my rentals, and the next week so both of my rentals will be empty. So I've got to get those cleaned up. I got to do a bunch of work over at the other place. Mostly a contractor will come in to do the work, but it needs to be done. And then I'll rent it out. I'll get them both rented out, hopefully, because that really helps. Having them both rented is really nice. Really nice. So a lot of real estate work. Tomorrow, hopefully, I can wake up and do a morning coffee. A morning coffee. And we'll read some Japanese things. Not today, of course. But also, I do want to put together a short story book, but I don't know if my short stories are strong. I don't think they're strong enough yet. The thing I like about writing too is that I don't plan it out. I just start writing. And it's like, you ever heard of the Akashic Field? I only had heard about this maybe 3 years ago. It's called the Akashic Field or the Akashic Record. It's some Indian belief, I believe. But it's the belief that every idea that could happen or will happen or has happened, all the knowledge of the world is in this field that we can somehow access. And apparently that's why when you start writing, the words start flowing because you're pulling from this field. When I saw that, man, I thought that was an excellent, cool concept. The Akashic Field. Amazing. And I wonder, that's what I'm doing. Is that what I'm doing? I'm writing and it's just coming to me. I'm reading the world somehow. I have not taken writing classes. I would though. I actually thought about looking up writing classes at UNLV because I would write the shit out of that. I love writing prompts and all that. I actually have a writing prompt book around here somewhere. Did I scan it? I don't think I've scanned it yet, but I love writing prompts. Octopus Balls. So Octopus Balls, I think that's a good short story. I wrote that one. I have a ex-girlfriend named Saori, and Saori was lamenting one day that she hadn't done anything, that she, I knew her, we were dating when she was 17 and she was fluent in English and very, very bright. And but now she's 40 something, or actually she's my age, I guess, right? She's like 50 now. And she's got still 2 youngest children. And she's married in a house living right next to her own parents in the same town that she grew up in. And she doesn't have a passport. That's what she was saying. So she felt dejected. So I wrote a story called Octopus Balls. That's a pretty good short story. I did mess up. She has 2 daughters, but I thought it was a son and a daughter. I messed that up. That's okay. But basically, I gave her a story when she's 99 or something like that. Like she's way, way old in the future and her children are coming to visit her. And it's basically showing her the future where even though you're still in that place, your children are super happy and that's what you did. And yeah, there's a nice moment with the octopus balls. That's probably my most favorite short story that I wrote. It's up on Tissue Box channel if you want to see it. I don't think it got any of the views I wish it had. Tissue Box channel. That was one of those darts I threw, but it's got 740 plus followers, guys. So that's nice. Oops, wrong button. So this is Tissue Box channel. And you can see I've got this is an earlier draft of Life Squared. There's the Octopus Balls one. We'll listen to this for a second here. Octopus Balls, a story written and read by George Trombley. Saori heard a car pull into the driveway in front of her house from the main road. She thought, it must be Yuria. She pushed her body off of the wooden chair, using the table to steady her, and grabbed the cane her father had used more than 20 years ago. The floor creaked as it had for the last 40 years. It was only a few meters to the house entrance area, but Saori wanted to meet Yuria at the door. She opened the sliding door between the living room area and the hall. A picture of her mother and father, taken on the day they opened up their laundry service, Clean Plus, was hanging on the wall across from her. In the picture, her parents were younger than both Yuria and her son Toka, who were now 56 and 47 respectively. The housemate bot met Saori in the hallway and offered a hand to steady her as she walked between the space between the sliding door and the entrance area. It spoke to her. "I will help you to the door." Saori extended her arm toward the housemate bot, and it softly gripped her upper arm, allowing her to balance as she walked. Saori had two housemate bots, which she named Salt and Pepper, because one was painted a shiny metallic white and the other black. Salt and Pepper allowed Saori to live alone despite her advanced age. They gave her children the ability to chase their dreams without the burden of taking care of her. Yuria was a successful artist with galleries in Tokyo, New York, and Oahu. Saori slipped out of her Mickey Mouse slippers, and Salt used its left foot to grab her shoes and help her put them on. The housemate bots were designed with multi-purpose hand-like feet, so Salt was able to provide support and help Saori put her shoes on at the same time. Saori said, "As always, thank you, Salt." Salt responded, "Of course, Mrs. Ozawa. You must be excited to see Yuria." "I am. It's been 4 months since she visited for New Year's." Salt slid open the always unlocked main sliding door to the house, and the fresh spring air of April in northern Japan gently rubbed Saori's wrinkled cheeks. The fragrance of fresh laundry still being hung by Pepper permeated her airways, bringing joyful memories of when her own mother hung clothes in the same spot. Saori heard Yuria's voice. "Mama!" She raised her arm to wave, and Yuria and her husband Yuya, both carrying small bags, walked hurriedly toward her. Japanese aren't known for their affection, even amongst family members, but Yuria wrapped her arms around Saori and gave her a tight embrace. "I missed you. How has Salt been treating you?" "I missed you too," Saori said, burying her neck into Yuria's shoulder. "Salt's been good as always." Yuya reached out his empty hand for a handshake, and Saori said, "You look like you've gained some weight since last time." Yuya laughed. "It's Yuria's fault. She started baking cookies for her baking class, and I have to test every batch." Salt took Yuria and Yuya's bags from them. Yuria grabbed Saori's arm and headed back into the house. "You know they're delicious," Yuria said, raising her eyebrows and squinting her eyes towards Yuya. Yuya agreed. "You're right. I guess I'll just have to do more exercise." Salt brought the bags up to Yuria's old room, still filled with high school trophies and the smell of dried up water paints. The three of them sat down at the living room table, where dinner had been served by 3 generations. A table that witnessed joyous moments and moments of unbelievable pain. Saori smiled and looked long at Yuria before she spoke. "I'm so happy for your new gallery. I've visited 3 times now in VR. It's beautiful." Yuria created one-of-a-kind ice and snow sculptures that were kept frozen using a new, transparent polymer. The polymer maintained the sculptures at a temperature of -2 degrees, even in the middle of a humid Japan summer. Among many accolades, she had won the Best New Artist Award just 3 years after graduating from Tokyo University of the Arts. All right, well, that's about the halfway point. But yeah, no drama in that story. That's just a story of a family. The good part's at the end. Let me just say that. I feel like there's a good part at the end. As for drama in lessons, yeah, drama in video, sorry, in tension in a story, yes, absolutely, yes. When I was first writing Times Squared or Life Squared, it was called Times Squared, but someone had taken that. Life Squared, I gave my character the perfect life. Like, everything was good for him. He had money. He was only working because he wanted to work. Everything was great for him. No problems at all. And he was only going to go work for this place that comes up paying 3 times his rate as a curiosity. But man, was that hard to write for, because there was no need for him to do anything. He didn't have to. Why would he? Why, if his girlfriend had warned him about this place, he's like, yeah, all right, I won't go. Why would he go? He doesn't have to go. So what did I do? I broke his knee. I destroyed his career. I gave him $400,000 of debt. I put him in a shitty apartment building where the water runs brown. I made his life bad so that he has reason to do things. And it worked. And that was able to give me, you know, a lot to write for, you know. The girlfriend in the story, she naturally has something to do things for. Everyone else had good motivation, but the main character did not until I destroyed everything for him. And it actually is kind of addicting to destroy people's lives in that, you know, story. You know, the cool and the really cool thing, for the coolest thing for me when I'm writing is when I got to the end of Life's Squared, I didn't know where it was going to end. I just knew what the characters were doing. And somehow when I got to the end, a great ending occurred to me based on what I thought the characters, like what I knew that the characters would do. They wrote the end of the book, not me. They wrote it. That's what's so cool about it. And then for me, the biggest joy I had in writing the novel was not the full novel, because that's stressful. Like, oh my God, am I going to get an ending? And I remember right as I was getting near the end, I was just struggling to write this novel. Like, oh my God, I don't know what my ending's going to be. I don't want to make it tropey. You know, I didn't want to do any of that stuff, you know? But in the end, my wife gave me a hint that really changed how I took the story. And once I had the ending, once that led to the ending, and then I went and started doing the rewrite. Oh my God, the rewrite is so fun because I know what's coming. Now I have a path and I can put in things that are inconsequential, yet consequential, because now I know. Or someone says something that doesn't mean anything until later on when you're like, oh, they kind of knew, or, you know, you don't know. I'm purposely not giving you any information because I do want you to read the novel when it comes out. But the fun of adding a small detail that it's an unimportant detail that reinforces another detail later on that might be a huge, like as I'm writing, right? I don't know what's coming. So let's say that we have this can, and this is like this is an important can for him. Like he got this can on his first date with Kim, so he keeps track of it, right? So let's say, as I'm writing, I don't know about this can. I don't come up with this can until later. Let's say someone breaks into his place and destroys everything, and when he walks in, the can is crushed on the floor, and that's the crushing of his dream, the crushing of his soul, you know. But that's the first time the can comes up in the first edition. Now, in the second and third draft, maybe the can is just sitting there on a shelf, you know, an empty can, and you don't know what it means. You're just like, you know, an empty sparkling water soda can sat on top of his shelf, on top of, you know, crime novels that he'd been reading or something like that. But it's just that's what I mean by a completely unimportant, just giving you kind of a visual of what the room was like. But then later on, when we attach meaning to this can and it gets crushed, it's not like it's the first time you've heard of it. It's already in your head somewhere. Someone might remember that, and then it just makes it more of like, oh, that can meant something. You know, why does he have this can sitting there when he's a clean dude? His place is clean. What's his can? By the way, it's not a can. There's no can there. I'm just making that up. Dark Verat says, I'm planning to learn Japanese. Should I go for the Genki series or take him? Please inform. Thanks. So Dark doesn't know who I am. That's okay. If you ask me what book I recommend, it's this one. I wrote this one. I wrote 5 books in this series. Okay? I would never recommend Genki or Take Him because I didn't write them. So that would be like asking Take Him what book he recommends. He's going to say Take Him, right? So I recommend my series. I also have hundreds of videos where I walk you through everything in the book. All right. But I understand you probably just came and you don't know who I am. That's fine. Or you're trolling me. It could be that too. Because what do I know? People have fun trolling. Are you from India? Dark? Have you seen The Roland Show? No. I have not. I have no idea what that is. Right now I'm watching Blu-rays and DVDs. And then one thing called Louder Milk, which I hate watching half mostly, but it's getting better. I knew you were Indian, Dark. I could tell. I had a vibe. Varad sounded Indian. Also, the way you were writing your English. You wrote planing instead of planning. Yeah. And then the way you wrote, please inform, thanks. It's very, I have a vibe. I had a vibe that it was Indian. I actually did a whole presentation to a college in India about entrepreneurship of all things. Had a lot of fun doing that. Whew. I need to stop eating so much. I'm so full right now. I've been full all day. Never letting myself get hungry. Oh. All right. Well, I don't know if you guys know what time it is, but I haven't done it in a while. So I'm going to do it. Okay. Let me see if I can do something interesting with these lights. Because there are things I can do. There's like a FX picker. Oh, that's different. FX. Ooh. Oh, dude, that's cool. What is that? Okay, that's a cop car. Hue pulse. I kind of like one being cop car. That's kind of cool, actually. Let's do the other one. That was the right one. Let's do FX. Dude, hang on. I gotta turn this other thing over. All right. Oof. Hopefully I don't get a seizure from this. All right, guys, here we go. Gonna turn this on as well. Pew. All right.
Japanese ZZ39, Japanese ZZ39, Japanese ZZ39, Japanese ZZ39, Japanese ZZ39, Japanese ZZ39.
Doing day particle and the first usage is a marked location where the action takes place.
I feel you, Bo. I feel you, Bo. Yo, it's okay. How do I say this? I feel you, Bo. But you know what? Take the time to get to know yourself. Like, understand the things you like and don't like. Because once you understand yourself, you know how to take care of yourself when you find the person for you. 那我好意思表，那我好意思表，那我好意思表。I'm staying in Bangkok. I'm staying in Bangkok. Just don't give yourself away. Too fast.
Japanese ZZ39, Japanese ZZ39, Japanese ZZ39. Japanese ZZ39, Japanese ZZ39, Japanese ZZ39.
Doing day particle and the first usage is a marked location where the action takes place.
Exactly. All right, you beautiful angels of the Lord Jesus Cristo. Dear Lord, I just pray over everyone who came on this live today who is anointed and divinely appointed to be here. And I pray blessings over their day and just a feeling of peace.
Learning a language is dirty. It'll never be clean. You'll always feel like you didn't do enough or you made too many mistakes. But in the end, you have to remember, language is a tool to communicate and not an art to master.
I already made this video once, but I was crying too much and I felt like it was reductive, so I'm doing it again. I am so disgusted and ashamed. Let me make this clear. I would never betray you guys like that. I would rather go broke than suck corporate dick. That shit. That shit. That shit. Let me make this clear. Let me make this clear. Let me make this clear. I would never betray you guys like that. I would rather go broke than suck corporate dick. That shit. That shit. We are all suffering under this capitalistic hellscape.
Japanese easy. Japanese easy 39. Japanese easy 39. Japanese easy 39.
We're doing toe particle in the most simple uses using like and when listening now.
Japanese easy 39. 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 Japanese easy. Japanese easy. Japanese easy 39. Japanese easy. Japanese easy. Japanese easy 39.
Trying again won't hurt. Just don't give yourself away too fast. Yeah. Straight up, if I know I like you, I'ma text you right at that moment when I decided I like you. I'ma be like, I like you. But if you don't like me, it's okay. I feel you, bro. I feel you, bro. I feel you, bro. You are so stupid and boring. You have to go stuck at your home and don't turn on the phone. You can stay behind the phone and typing something like this thing. I don't like it. Get out. Get out. Just get out from this life. Bye. What is Tagalog? What is Tagalog? What is Tagalog? What is Tagalog? Wow, girl, you're so strong. What is Tagalog? Fuck that shit. Fuck that shit. Fuck that shit. We are all suffering under this capitalistic hellscape. 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 I would rather go broke than suck corporate dick. I am so disgusted and ashamed. We are all suffering under this capitalistic hellscape. Fuck that shit.
Woo! It's been a while. Surprised I didn't have some sort of seizure here. All right, guys. Woo! All right. Thanks for coming, guys. I do one more mix for my own self, but I cut it off the visuals, so I'll see you later. Bye.
Japanese easy. Japanese easy. Japanese easy 39.
I feel you, bro. I feel you, bro. Yo, it's okay. I love saying I feel you, bro. But you know what? Take the time to get to know yourself. They definitely flirting. understand the things you like, they don't like, they definitely flirting. Once you understand yourself, you know how to take care of yourself, flirting, find the person. I'm not gonna lie, they definitely flirting. Do she try it again won't hurt. Do she miss you? Do she try it again won't hurt. Feel me? Just don't give yourself away. Feel me? Too fast. Do she miss me? Yeah. Do she miss me? She might not like you. I don't like it. You feel me? You feel me? You feel me? Do she miss me? You feel me? You feel me? Do she miss me? Even I don't know. They definitely flirting. She might not like you.
Are you Korean? Yes, I'm Korean. Are you Korean? Yes, I'm Korean. 한국어를 잘하시는 거야? You are so stupid and boring. You have to go stuck at your home and don't turn on the phone. You can stay behind the phone and typing something like this thing. I don't like it. What is Tagalog? What is Tagalog? What is Tagalog? Wow, girl, you're so strong. What is Tagalog?
Exactly. Go follow me on Instagram and get my book, You're a Girl. You'll love it. Exactly. Exactly.
Peace out.